Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, Van Diesel back with Card 5 Vanguard deck profile. So because Georgia like, comment, subscribe, and also sorry. This time we're covering set 13 Welstra for Brandt. So Welstra is one of those ones where I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting one of the decks from my deck profiles of last week. So what are they? And I was like, Australia, obviously. Then after a few attempts, I finally remember Alden. Then I was like, Dianos, and then the promos. And I was like, there's one more. I know it is for Brandt. And then I finally was like, oh my god, it's Welstra. So yeah, we got some nice support for him. It's just kind of forgettable. Though that support is, to say, really good. So I was going to start showing and see what we got. First today, we have our starter in Blitz Mechanic Volton. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base. I know I'm like saying the W as a V. I don't know why. Anytime I like hear a possibility to go German accent and pronounce a word differently with a V, I'll probably take that chance. I don't know why I like pronouncing the letter V. Anyways, Volton. Auto and road upon if you win second, draw a card. Standard starter. Nothing special, free draw if you win second. None of the ride line really requires him as the starter, so you can really run any starter you want to. But I like to run Volton because A, he's a part of the Blitz the Blitz archetype, which is actually a confirmed archetype as of whenever they got their first line of legitimate support, but also the fact that he's just cool and he has nice wings and is like holding a wrench and directing orders. So all around nice starter, you can really make anything you want, like I said, but I prefer Volton because of theming. Then we have Overtrigger and Star Dragon Deity of Infinitude Eldo Breath. Grid Zone boost 50k shield, 5k base. Overtrigger, you have Overtrigger in your deck. Reveal it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of you, it gets plus 1 for the turn, and if you reveal it during your jet check, activate its additional effect, which you get to double the power and critical of all your farm units until end of turn. Increase to double its power and critical when activated. Apparently that does count current boosting as well. Now, here's the thing about this. Anyone that has played against Brandt, specifically Gravidia, probably knows this thing and probably has some form of PTSD against it because double over and then double that. But, you know, all around, being able to double the power and critical is pretty much game, like, at all, to the point where it started to become like an instinctive thing to me, to where if I have remote any thought at all, I'm gonna pull the over. Like, even if it's like a 1 out of 8 chance in my mind, if I can even thinking about that, I'm be like, no, I'm going for the rush, because if you pull it early, granted it sucks because your opponent can still guard it, and then once it's out the way, it's out the way, but if you pull it early and you rush them, they have to drop so much. I remember there was a game where I arbitrarily rushed my friend. He dropped every single one of his PGs, which granted was only 2 of them, but he had to drop 2 of them in order to live, and I was playing Gravidia, so he knew what was coming next. So, you know, Elbow Breath is all around very nice for pressure, and if you pull it in the late game, well, unless your opponent has a bunch of PGs ready, everything's double crit and has at least 40-something power against your opponent's possibly in the negatives numbers. So, yeah, Elbow Breath is the way to go, maybe one of. Then we have our normal triggers for showing 3 copies of our draw trigger and Omelette Connector. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's Vanguard to grade 3 or greater, 5k shield. So, you know, 10k shield, which is nice to have, and not to mention that's a draw trigger, so it helps increase the hand. And this deck can... well, it doesn't run into hand problems, but it's like, you know, draws are a way to help see more of the cards you want to see more often. So it's nice to have it. You don't want to have too many of them, though, because this deck can definitely deck out if you play it a certain way. So it's nice to have as like a 3. It doesn't deck you out too fast, but also does help increase hand and still acts as 10k shield if you need it to. Then we have 4 copies of our Crit and Patrol Robo Decker Cop. Grid Zone boost, 15k shield, 4k power. Critical trigger, auto rear at the end about a booster. Put this unit to soul to choose one of you. It gets 2k for the turn. So, you know, it's nice pressure. I mean, you have giant beat sticks, or I guess things that aren't necessarily giant beat sticks, but by default they turn into giant beat sticks because you're bringing your opponent down into the negatives. So, you know, being able to add crit to those beat sticks is even better. Now you're forcing out PGs with every attack, or at least forcing every attack to be guarded, which is nice. And not to mention the fact that he can play himself to soul to get 2k. And while the 2k doesn't do anything, I mean, it might if you put your opponent down to negatives, because you know how number calculations work. So maybe in that situation it might work. But it's mainly here to help increase the soul, because there is a route you can go with this deck where if you choose to use as much of your abilities as physically possible, you will definitely run into a soul problem. So be wary of that, and run the 4 Patrol Robo Decker Cop just for numbers, but also just in case a little bit of soul. And then we have 4 fronts and Heavy Duty Transformation, Heavy Constarian, Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power. Be smart, don't run a front in here. The only reason I'm running this is A, because it fits the theme, but B, like, it's really nice defensively. I can think of almost every single game that this card has, like, pulled defensively when I had very important rear guards on board that were integral to my next turn plan, and I pulled this front, not only shutting down their ability to kill me that turn, but shutting down their abilities to easily kill my rear guard, so that I was able to defend them. So I like Heavy Constarian. It's very nice to have if you want to run more crits in this, because again, your opponent's down in the negatives and you want extra crits to bully your opponent, by all means go ahead. But I like him because he's really nice defensively, and also the few times I've drive checked him, I'll tend to like drive check him 2 at once. So like if you're 1 to passing, if you're 2 to passing the Vanguard, more likely than not, if my first check's a front, we can almost bet that the second check's also going to be a front. So 4 Heavy Constarian, very solid to have. And we have 4 heals and Alterate Spear Dragon. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power, standard heal. Not about it, basically just a standard heal. Like, you can use any heal you want. You can even use the counter heals, but I prefer the normal heals because they're consistent 15k shields compared to fluctuating 10 to 25k guards. But, I mean, again, take it as you will. If you want to run the counter heals because of certain situations, by all means, go ahead. But I like Alterate Spear Dragon just because. Then move on to our grade 1s. First up, we talk about our product cards, the most important cards in the deck. We'll go each of them by grades, so we're not going to do all of them at once. First up is Mobile, Kennel, and Galton. Grade 1 boost, nothing stat-wise. After set order is played, it's put into order zone. It's a set order, and it's played for free, actually. Auto, when it's put from your hand or order zone into the drop zone during your turn, put this card into your order zone or your soul. So the best part about this is you can either ditch this for Ride deck and get a free soul card out, or you ditch this for Ride deck, and then you get a free order on top of your search for Ride deck, and then get another free order on top of it. And the best part is that ability is not a hard once per turn, meaning you can quite literally just keep ditching this from order zone in hand as much as you want, and it will just keep repopulating your order zone, which is a pretty nice thing to have. Then it has Operate, auto order zone. When this card is operated, call this card as a 10k power, 1 critical normally with boost to an open rearguard circle, and put it to order zone at the end of your turn. Downside is it has to go to an open rearguard circle, so if your board is kind of shitty and you want to call over something to make a better unit, you can't do it the way you want to. But on the bright side, at least going to be a 10k booster for a little bit of pressure, and worst case scenario, you are able to call it to front row and swing for 10k. And like I said earlier, you can ditch it from hand, or you can ditch it from order zone, and it'll just like continuously repopulate the order zone. So that's nice to have, and it's an easy 2 of, and it's searchable, so there's that. Then we have 2 copies of Blitz Mechanic Schrot. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, act rearguard circle. If your opponent's vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, by counterblasting 1 and putting a heavy strike cannon fortress fry shoots from your order zone into the drop zone and retiring him, you can do up to 1 mobile fortress of obliteration fry shoots maximum from your hand, put it to your order zone, and do all that pretty much. Now, this card is not necessary because it A, eats up CB, B, it takes up an order, and C, like, it has to require maximum in hand. But on the upside, that if you brick hard and you don't see any of your other searchers and you happen to open maximum normally, and then you can use Uber's skill to search the grade 2, and then even if you went second, where you can no longer get maximum out easily because you didn't hit your other searcher, you can at least use this thing to turbo out maximum a little bit faster. It's not amazing, but it helps add as like an extra option to help activate maximum on first grade 3 turn. So I like to run him as a 2 of just in case. Otherwise, he's like free guard power or free discard fodder, which is just a nice thing to have. So 2 of. Then we have 4 copies of Blitz Assistant Sorten. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. When a grade 2 or greater product card is put into your order zone, put to soul counter charge 1. Now, I love that ability because you can hit it off of searching, you can hit off of just returning it to order zone at the end of the turn via skills like maximum, which is nice because maximum or double maximum whenever I did it tend to take up basically half of my CV, and by half I mean 3 in one go. So Sorten being able to cut that down by 1, if not 2, if there's 2 of them on board, is pretty solid. And he also goes to soul, which means you can proc off more of the soul blasters a lot more consistently. All around Sorten is pretty great because it handles countercharging for the CB users. It handles soul for the soul blasters. It's all around very solid grade 1 support card, and they honestly could not have done this better. Sometimes simplicity is just the way to go. Easy 4 up. It's like Bubble Mine, but specifically for this deck. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Planet Wall Dragon. Grade 1 boost, 0 source, K base, continuous sentinel. You may have up to 4 sentinels in deck and also put on guard circle. Choose one of your units. It cannot be hit till the battle. And if your hand is 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand as guarded. Standard PG. Nothing special about it. Basically means if this and only one other card is in your hand when you place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard 1, which is great because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, and then when your opponent counterattacks you, you can throw on this PG and you'll be fine even if you have nothing else in your hand. Which is nice because this deck, like, the second you get the chance to like go aggro with your orders and like call them to rear guard with like end guard, you definitely want to go aggro and push them because the higher damage they are before you get to grade 3, the second you get to grade 3, the more they have to guard with more hand cards because you're going to be putting them down into the negatives constantly, meaning they'll have to drop out more cards if they're already, like, say, for example, at 4 damage, because now Welstra is possible death target, the first hit is possible death target, so they have to guard both of those. Maybe the third hit is possible death target, and then the 4th and possibly 5th hits as well. So 4th Planet Wall Dragon, very solid PG, very nice to have. You can run Violet Dragon because they have the exact same skill, but I prefer Planet Wall because it came out close to the time of Velstra's release. Then we have our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the right deck, none in the main deck because he has no rear guard skill, sadly, of Blitz Programmer Stronzer. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto when in Rotopon, search your deck or hand for up to 1 grade 1 product card, put it to your order zone, and if you search your deck, you shuffle it. If you put it from hand, draw a card. All around pretty solid. This deck only has 1 product card, so if you end up taking damage too early and you somehow hit both these into the damage zone, then I feel really bad for you. you because then you can't play it, but I mean the chance of that happening is one every blue moon. But being able just to ride Stronza and then straight up get this into the order zone for free and then next turn ditch it out is just great. And if you have to play it from hand, which isn't ideal, but if you do, you at least get to replace with a draw. So all around Stronza is not bad. His skill could have been a little bit better, or maybe giving him a rear guard skill that would worth rewarding him in the main deck in replacement of Strat over here. But he's not a horrible card, so one of in the right deck, none in the main deck. Then move on to our grade 2s. Run 2 copies of our first grade 2 product card. I say first for a reason. And that is Assault Flight Carrier Lubatziel. So grade 2 set, Order of Set Wars, play, put into your order zone. Again, played for free. Auto and put into the order zone. If you have a Vanguard of Blitz in its card name, draw a card and Soul Charge 1. And this card is what made the deck into an archetype. Because for most people, what is classified as an archetype is it doesn't matter if they, well, a lot of cards sharing the same name, but also a lot of cards sharing the same name that have at least one card of support. Lo and behold, one card of support. You have to have a Vanguard of Blitz in the card name. Thankfully, almost everything in this deck, in fact, everything in this deck but the triggers, the PG, and one specific grade 2 all have Blitz in their card name. So even if you weren't on the basic ride line, you would still be able to proc off the draw and Soul Charge from that effect. But his other skills, Operate, Auto, Order Zone. When this card is operated, if it's in your main phase, check the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose one unit card from one of them with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, call it to rear guard, and shuffle the deck. And if it's during your battle phase, draw a card. Man, I both hate the fact that the top 5 skills the main phase one, but I also understand why that's the case because A, that would have been like the most abusable multi-attack mechanic in this entire deck. Like think about that. You get to operate this for free, get free multi-attack during the battle phase, then proc off maximum, or worse, do maximum into this, and then it would only be the draw during the main phase. But yeah, for this one it makes sense because A, it's free that you get to do all that for you. You either get a rear guard or you get a draw, and it's a nice draw on Soul Charge by simply placing it, so you get to cut down in your Soul Blaster a little bit and still increase your hand. All around, it's a very solid order, and it's typically my search target unless I really need the other one in specific situations. So it's a nice card to have as a 2 of. I wouldn't say spam all of your uses on this, but definitely in the early games, like before either side gets to grade 3, spam as much of this as physically possible with the operating, because it's not a hard once per turn for the operation, to try to get as much board as possible, so then next turn, when next turn comes around, your board's pretty much already set up for free bounce targets and then just swingers to force out your opponent to higher damage and, kill them when they're negative. So 2 of. Then we have 2 copies of our other order. Again, most of the time I search this one with skills, but if the situation comes up for where I actually need this thing second skill, I would tend to search this one, or if I have both copies out of deck already. And that is Heavy Strike, Cannon, Fortress, Fry Shoots. Grade 2, set order of set orders, play, put it to your order zone, operate, or auto order zone. When this card is operated, choose one of your opponent's rear guards in the front row and kill it. And if you do not, choose one of your opponent's vanguards and lose 5k for the turn. So this is this deck's main gimmick, pretty much minusing the opponent's power, which is nice, and killing the rear guards, except Maximum does the job 10 times better because not only does it retire the rear guard, but it retires any rear guard, and the Vanguard loses 5k regardless if something was retired or not. But it is nice to have, again, if you need it for its second skill, which is Auto Order Zone, when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard is placed by riding from a grade 3. Doesn't matter if it's by Persona Ride, Normal Ride, Superior Ride, it really doesn't matter. So you found a way to Superior Ride on your first grade 3 turn, there you go. Put this card to your drop zone. Wait, no, before I continue, that's what they should have done. No offense to the Gravidia plays, but screw Gravidia. Gravidia should not have gotten the mask then. What they should have done is given the mask to Welstra, because that actually is procced off by the mask. Okay, anyways, put this card to drop zone, search your deck or hand for up to 1 mobile Fortress of Obliteration, Fry Switch Maximum. Put it to your order zone. If you search your deck, you shuffle it, and then if you put it from your hand, you draw a card. So all around pretty solid. You either get you your deck's main mechanics by simply placing the Vanguard over a grade 3 from either deck or hand, and if you had to place it from hand, you get a free draw. All around pretty solid. Again, it's not bad, especially if like your opponent's early in the game rushing you and you want to focus on retiring the rear guard instead of using this to check the top 5, unless you want to do both at the same time. You're confident your opponent's going to take all your rear guard attacks. But at the same time, it is good help for this effect, though this deck typically has other ways to get Fry Shoots out. Like, granted, this is required for this one to proc off his effect, but, it also has the next card we're about to go over, which is typically your way to search out Fry Shoots, and is also a proccable by Lubatziel. But hey, if you really need it, it's good to have, so 2 of. And then speaking of which, we have our card over here that is proccable by this thing and also is our main way of getting Maxima onto the board, and that is Operate Master Freiheit. Grade 2 set 5k, show 10k base at 4 copies. Auto, when placed on rear guard circle, if your order zone has a set order in it, by counterblasting 1 and ditching a hand card, you can search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as your Vanguard, or up to 1 product card, reveal it, put it to your hand and shuffle your deck. And if you have a Vanguard of Welstra card name, choose 1 product card from your hand and put it to your order zone. This is a non-once per turn ability that, at least this half of the skill, works while you're at grade 2. Which means the second you ride from this thing into this thing, and you get this into your, give me a second, this into your order zone, you can play down 2 of these, search your deck for 2 orders, because you're not going to search for more copies of Uber, because there's no copies of Uber in the main deck, and then granted you can't do anything with them for now, except for maybe play 1, but the point is you got 2 free orders. Or you wait till you're on Welstra, and then each time you use this, you can just place the order you search if you search an order, or you can just search a Persona ride. Like, either way, though, Freiheit's amazing. He's literally just a free set of maximum just by simply being placed by this thing. Like, think about that for a second. This makes rear guards, which makes this, which then makes a copy of maximum, your win mechanic, which then brings your opponent down to -3 in that turn. Like, Freiheit is straight up amazing for his skill. And then auto rear guard, when this unit attacks into a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard Welstra in its card name, by Soul Blasting 2, choose a product card from your order zone and operate it. Is this the reason why this deck has a Soul Blast problem? Yes. However, when this skill exists, I would be damned if they didn't give it a cost like this, considering how broken that would be. Because think about that for a second. That means you can consistently make a full board of these, and then just keep Soul Blasting 1 each time. I tell you what, there's a big difference between Soul Blast 2 and Soul Blast 1, especially if you're doing it constantly. If this was not a Soul Blast 2, this card would be exponentially broken, especially with the existence of this mofo. So, 4 of Operate Master Freiheit. Literally the second you get to grade 2, you can start deck thinning, and once you get to Welstra, it's just free maximum galore. 4 of, you're crazy not to run out at 4. Then we have 4 copies of Blitz Accounting Department Staff Virginia, grade 2 to 5k shield, 10k base, auto when placed on rear guard circle. If you have a Vanguard Welstra in its card name, by counterblasting 1, choose a product card from your order zone, operate it. Cool, very simple. Operate, it can be procced off by this thing, so, you know, after you operate this via something like maybe Freiheit, which because she can be procced off during the battle phase, you can check top, well actually no, Freiheit would have to go off during the main phase, but you get the point. Freiheit, or not Freiheit, Lubitzel goes off, checks top 5, calls this, then you counterblast 1 to operate it again, and then get more rear guards out of it. So all around pretty solid, and then auto rear guard once per turn when your product in your order zone is operated by another card's ability, Soul Blast to draw a card. Cool, so it helps increase resources in hand, but it takes up 2 soul. Pretty much here's what you do with the soul. Unless you absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, need that draw, like, unless that draw is going to guarantee let you walk away from next turn alive, like, unless it's not guaranteed, don't do it. But if it's guaranteed to let you walk away from next turn alive, or when you the game this turn, then do it. Otherwise, all that soul goes into this skill, because you want to beat the ever-living crap out of your opponent with pure negative beatdown with maximum. So, for Virginia, her skill is really good for the free product, but you don't want to use this effect, or at least the way I do it, you don't want to use this effect unless you absolutely have to. So, 4 of both. But again, soul goes to him. Then we have one of our last grade 2 in the ride deck, none in the main deck, of Blitz Technology Researcher Uber. Grade 2 is 5k shield, 10k base, begrudgingly active Vanguard Circle once per turn, Soul Blast 1. Just use a product card from your order zone and operate it, activates operation ability. So again, kill a rear guard or get 5k, or lose 5k. Lubitziel, top 5 search. This thing, get free rear guard, etc. You're not going to have maximum by the time you get this thing out, but it's still an option. And then auto and Rotopon by putting a product card from your order zone into the drop zone. I'm glad it says any product card, so we don't have to use the flame cannon. That wasn't that good, but hey, look at that, retirable target that just comes right the fuck back, or goes into soul if you want to spam Freiheit more. Anyway, search deck or hand for up to 1 grade 2 product card, put it to your order zone. If you search your deck, you shuffle it, and if you play it from hand, draw a card. So, you know, search your deck for this, get a free draw and soul charge on top of that, and then maybe grab Freiheit or swap it if this is already out of deck. So all around pretty solid, not an amazing grade 2, especially because his Soul Blast kind of eats away at Freiheit, but his skill is still solid and he doesn't take up CB for it. So 1 of in the ride deck, none in the main deck. Also, one more thing, just because I'm on the topic of it, if at any point you have to choose in terms of resources between Counterblast and Soul Blast, the answer is always Freiheit and Maximum. If it comes down to Counterblast, prioritize Maximum. But if it comes down, if Maximum is the option. But if it comes down to anything else, where it's Freiheit and anyone else but Maximum, Freiheit is always the priority, no matter what. You want the numbers, you want the orders, you want the everything. Speaking of Maximum, we have 3 copies of our grade 3 product card, because you only need 3 copies because it is searchable via this thing, who is searchable via this thing. It's just searchable via all types of means. Anyways, Mobile Fortress of Obliteration. Fry shoots Maximum. Grade 3, set order continues. You cannot play this card. So automatically, you cannot play it normally is what it means. So you can't like just set it in the set order normally. You have to, you know, find ways to superior set it, such as him, and this down here. But all around though, pretty solid from that ability alone, because that tells you it's going to be good. Because here's his operate effect. Operate, auto order zone, not a hard once per turn. When this card is operated, choose an opponent's rear guard and kill it, regardless if it's in the front row, back row, damage zone if it somehow counts as the damage zone, etc. And then choose one of your opponent's vanguards, it loses 5k for the turn. So automatically, kill a rear guard, minus 5k. But then, by counterblasting one and returning any rear guard to the hand, call this card as a 23k single critical normal unit to an open rear guard circle as stand beat stick, and if you called it at the end of that turn, put it back into order zone. So, here's the thing about this. You don't have to use this ability because it's a cost skill. Meaning, if you only have one copy of this in order zone, you can just keep spamming it out with Freiheit skill, Welstra skill, this one skill, and keep minusing your opponent's power, and then finally on the last usage, probably Velstra's, you can use it to bounce a rear guard to hand and get multi-attack out of it. All around pretty solid, but because it's not a hard once per turn, if you have two of them, well, this would eat up CB. Freiheit is here for a reason. Typically what I do is I just do double Freiheit. Once, swing, Soul Blast 2, operate in order, drop their power down by 5k, probably to 8 and kill an interceptor. They guard or intercept, doesn't really matter. I swing with the other Freiheit, I Soul Blast 2, I drop their power down, I kill another rear guard, and then I use the maximum I just used skill to counterblast 1, bounce the rest of Freiheit that attacked first, call down that maximum. They block this Freiheit. Vanguard swings, I operate the last maximum, I bring their power down to probably -2, I believe, kill one more rear guard, bounce the rest with Freiheit, and boom, now I have double cannons next to Welstra, which is just a very cool image. So 3 of maximum, very good. Drops the opponent's power into negatives, and it just does pure hell by killing rear guards. And it can do both, it can do that for free, and then if you really wanted to, you can beat the hell out of your opponent with the giant beat stick. So 3 of. And then we have a last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck of Blitz CEO of Welstra. In my opinion, one of like the best done main grade 3s ever, or like at least for D, because its skill is so simplistic and is so good. Like, especially around this time where I was like kind of hating on how D was pretty much everyone either has double crit, has multi-attack, or the Vanguard specifically has double crit, multi-attack, triple drive, something to make it good. He doesn't have any of that. But the fact that his ability is just as simple as it is like really good because it has no cost to it. Grade 3 2.5% and 13k base, 2 effects, auto order zone. When this unit attacks into a Vanguard, choose any one of your products in your order zone and operate it. So for free, activate your deck's entire main gimmick. You can do maximum to kill rear guards, minus numbers and call a rear guard. You can do this one to just minus numbers and or kill a rear guard. You can do this one to get free draws. You can do this one to get another rear guard out. Like the options are endless on him, and the more proc cards they give us, the more options we get. And then Auto Vanguard, when one of your products is operated, he gets a 5k for end of turn. Now, that does not sound powerful, but considering consistently, before, like in his first debut set, consistently, you could activate 2 products a turn, he'd be at 23k. Now, if you really want the full try-hard route, I think in this deck you can probably go 4 or 5. I have not hit 4 or 5. I think I've hit 3, and then I almost hit 4 if I was like if I had one more soul. But, you know, the fact that he can get himself to at least 28k guaranteed and possibly 33 and, in theory, 38k, yeah, that's pretty good without, like, triggers, persona rides, boosters, any other crap. Like, he's good. He makes himself a big beat stick. He literally does his job for free. He does it well, and then he just lets the rest of the deck do the talking as he just watches and lets it kill you. Like, all around, very solid grade 3. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck. There's not much more I can say about him. And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is very fun to play. I like getting out having a slow build up of product cards and having like these big, massive cannons shoot down my opponent while my main grade 3 Vanguard just stands menacingly and tall and doesn't give a damn while they just blast my opponent away and I spam the hell out of Freiheit. Like, it's just so fun to play, and I love pulling off combos with this deck. So I'm going to end this one here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us, follow Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.